My next guest, Georgia State Representative Vernon Jones, has been at the forefront of his own battle with the media and joins us now. So, Vernon, when we look at the media headlines, there's, of course, allegations of bias. It's nothing necessarily new that's existed. But I want to talk about something that recently happened on MSNBC. You were asked if you were a paid Trump supporter, and a lot of people quickly came to your defense, saying that that is a very disparaging thing to say to an individual who's speaking their mind on an issue. So I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, first of all, I was disappointed, not angry, but disappointed. But this is a clear example of what I've been saying about the bigotry in the Democratic Party and the bigotry in the liberal media. They have a perception in their minds of African Americans, and we're supposed to fit a certain narrative of theirs. And if we don't, then either there's got to be something wrong. Either we're being paid or we've been given some 30 pieces of silver or this or that. Fact of it is, I support this president based on my core beliefs. And how were they formed? Being born and reared on a farm in North Carolina, being taught hard work, fiscal responsibility, self-reliance and independence, and faith-based. And so this president has provided a lot of leadership. His policies have had a direct impact on me and my community in terms of African Americans and communities at large, with with employment, record number of unemployment, people being able to work and expand their businesses prior to the pandemic, obviously, but also historical Black colleges. I'm a proud graduate of North Carolina Central University. His funding support of those colleges made a difference. The prison reform, among other things, this president has been spot on, standing up to other countries to making sure they pay their fair share in fair trade and bringing jobs back to America.
And another individual on MSNBC who was asked a similar question was a friend of the program here, Bruce Lavelle. He was asked something very similar as well. And of course, he responded to that with, just laying out exactly what you're saying right now, is saying that he supports the policies. But I think you bring up the right point. And it's kind of brings me back to the Biden, you ain't black comment, where, people's votes are not guaranteed to anyone. You have to earn those votes, no matter how the demographic traditionally votes, no matter how the area traditionally votes, whatever it may be. You have to earn the votes of individuals. You have to make a platform that speaks to the average American in order to garner their trust. And I know that, for example, you were at the White House just recently meeting with the president about some core issues that are taking place in this country. So how did that meeting go? Did you get what you were looking for there?
It was very well taken by me, and I hope the president too. I saw firsthand that this president is wearing on his shoulders the weight of making America healthy again. And he's focused, he's committed, he cares. He asked me more about how are people doing? What else can I do to help people? Let them know that a cure that's going to wipe this out is around the way, it's close by, it's around the corner. He wants to get people back to work, get people's businesses back open, and those who lost their businesses that can never open that business again. He wants to create an environment so they can come back to work. He wants our kids to go to school, but he wants them to be safe. There's one thing when I hear them talk about, and he's very passionate about kids too, about kids who are coming from families where the parents have to work. If that child doesn't go to school, that child is at home. They don't have the resources to bring in tutors. What's going to happen for that child? Is going to get left behind even further, possibly. Also, many of those kids, that's the only place they can get a healthy, balanced diet, meal. That's important. What about those in urban areas where they don't have computers? There's no broadband, so they have no access to the internet. So this president is concerned about them and their safety, and he's working hard again to make America healthy again. And I support him, and I felt recharged and even more committed to helping him become reelected and serve his second 4 terms to get this country back on track.
And when we talk about these issues too, it becomes more and more evident that the media does like to divide people. They like to play to their audience. They like to get ratings that way. It's been successful for a lot of people, so I guess who am I to criticize the business decisions of any other network? But when it comes to this issue it is avoiding the gray area that underlies all these issues. For example, when you talk about school, you bring up an excellent point. It's not just some people want to send their kids back to school and some people don't at all. There is that gray area, and you bring up such an important point. For example, a lot of kids get their first meal at school. In fact, in the previous program, Liz Wheeler did an excellent subject on this, where 1 in 5 American children are hungry right now. And that's an incredible thing to be said about perhaps the most prosperous country in the history of mankind. But there is much more nuance to a lot of these issues. So when we talk about this together, do you believe that there will be a unifying front somewhere in the distance? Or are we a polarized country now, and that's what we have to live with?
Well, I think you said something important. Journalism is not like it used to be. The days of Walter Cronkite are long gone. I'm surprised that more schools of journalism at these various universities and colleges are not stepping in and say, wait a minute, you're making a mockery of journalism now. You're not just giving the facts and let people make their decision. You're taking an opinion and then you shaping the narrative and you're trying to shape somebody else's opinion. When I look at the liberal media now, whether it's MSNBC or CNN, they're literally an extension. They made a political decision to be an extension of the Democratic Party, which in fact, they're not feeding the Democratic Party voters and people the true facts so they can make a decision. And so that's what's sad. Again, me being an African American man who happens to have an independent thought, I'm a disgrace. I'm not the one that they want on their show. I'm the one that must be getting paid
Hmm.
if I support this particular candidate. It has nothing to do with my core beliefs, and that's wrong. And I like to see this really become more of a topic and hold the media accountable for what they're doing because it's really hurtful to people who are supporters of mine. It's hurtful to people who have their own minds and think the way they want to think. And it's hurtful to, I think, the politics is divisiveness now, and
Yeah.
it's not helping at all.
No, I think you're right. And I think Americans are starting to wake up to this because even during the Democratic primary, a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters woke up to that realization themselves when they noticed that even the left-wing media was against them to some degree because they're comfortable with
Yeah,
the status quo business model.
yeah.
The same way that even some right-wing outlets were very not receptive to President Trump in 2016 because he represented a shakeup of the status quo. So I think there are a lot of people waking up to this, and I think it's about time too. You bring up a lot of excellent points. But State Rep Vernon Jones, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight and breaking down the media for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here too.